Hey everybody, welcome back. I know I haven't put up a video for the past week or so on our texturing of our hangar. I had some, I have some other projects that I'm trying to get done, so there's a little bit of delay on the next episode of our texturing of our hangar for Akron Canton Airport. But I've been asked a lot this past week about lighting. And so I'm just going to show you something in the sim about lighting. Okay, a couple of announcements to make. Like I said, we will get back to the texturing series for our hangar. But let me get some things done first. Plus, it's giving you guys enough time to go back and watch those videos and get your modeling abilities down. But also, another thing in the background, you're going to hear some squeaking, whining, humming. I just have a 3D printer that's running. We have a FIRST robotics team, which is a high school robotics competition. And they have a competition coming up next week, and we have some parts that they need, that the students need 3D printed, so I'm getting those done for them. So I apologize for any ambient noise behind you. Okay, so today I'm addressing a different topic. So we're not talking about texturing. We are talking about lighting. Some things that you need to know about the sim, because it's a real frustrating aspect of scenery design. I am not a game designer. I do not even pretend to know about ray tracing and all that kind of stuff. But Microsoft Flight Simulator is optimized for sunlight, not artificial light. Okay, sunlight in some aspects does work correctly, but artificial light, it's kind of a pain in the butt. All right. The simulator is for really external stuff. A lot of us designers, or a lot of us scenery creators, are enjoying putting interiors to our buildings. I don't do too much interior unless it's going to be seen from the outside. But when you want to light up the interior of a building, it's a little bit of a challenge. Now, this video is not showing you all the ways to correct it. I'm just giving you an idea so you know how lighting affects your scene when you're making your models. Okay, so here I have a simple procedural brick block that I'm creating, which I'm going to talk about procedural textures in some videos coming up. But so I have a block, and I've added another block, and I'm going to move that block just a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to move that in the X direction a little bit more. Okay, and I'm going to add a blender light. So I'm going to Shift A, come down here to light, and let's add a spotlight. Okay, and let me turn my keycasts on. Okay, so we got keycasts on. All right, so we have a light, and let's move that in the X direction, and move that over here, and let's move that up in the Z direction a little bit. There we go, and rotate that on the Y axis and get that spotlight pointing directly at our block and through our block. Okay. All right, so we have the block, and we have a block behind it, and then we have a light shining. Okay, now what I'm going to do is select our blocks and our light, And we are going to export this out to our project. And I have a project that I've created that I do some test stuff on. It's just a small airport near our house. So let me, yeah. All right, so I'm going to name this test block, so it's the same name as our model, test block. Okay, and then I don't have any textures that I'm putting on this model right now, but I'm going to go ahead and populate the texture directory. Remember, we're going to do generate a GUID, and the GUID name is going to be the same as our model. So we're going to name that test block, generate GUID, include selected items, custom properties, geometry. We're going to apply any modifiers that we have them, and then we're going to go ahead and export that. Okay, and so that's going to create a that's going to create our GLTF for our model in my model lib directory. There's our test block, and there's the GLTF that we just created. Yep, time is right. Alright, so let's minimize that. So that's created. The next step is I am going to build that project. And I usually build the projects outside of the sim. Alright, so I'm going to come into here. I'm going to take the XML of our project of 5 Alpha 1 Airport, and I'm going to drop that on the fs package tool.exe that I copied from the SDK into this directory. Just drop that on there. Now off the screen it's doing its thing, and if I move the window into this screen, it's not gonna finish. Okay, it's not gonna finish. But anyway, there's a dialog screen on my other monitor, and it takes a few minutes for it to build it. So as soon as that's done, I will start this right back up. Okay, that build finished just fine. I didn't get any fails. Alright, so we can minimize this. Now I will be right back. I'm going to get into the sim and set this up. I'll be right back. Okay, we're in the sim. So you're going to most likely see my image in the lower left hand corner. It's probably going to freeze up here in a second, but anyway, so we're going to go to Tools, open Project Editor, go to Project, and open Project, and I'm in 5 Alpha. There we go. And we're going to open that project in the sim. And I'm going to open the BGL. Alright, that's when I'm not frozen now. Anyway, you're going to get some lag because I'm in the sim now. So, what we're going to do is we have our test block right here. Okay, if I do one click, you can see the blocks that we made in Blender. Okay, so I'm going to drop that model right here. Okay, and then I'm going to turn off the one-click stuff. Alright, so yeah, now you see my image has frozen, but that's okay. You can just listen to me, and that's just because of the recording of the sim. Normally I'd have my image turned off. Alright, so just concentrate on the voice now. Alright, so here we are in the sim, and remember we have a spotlight pointing toward this block, and it goes through this and it's pointing at the second block. All right, this is what happens with light, artificial light in the sim. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go to the environment settings, and we're going to go to nighttime. Click that. Now notice that our artificial light, you can see the light bell right here, and it's lighting up this face of the block. But if you notice, that artificial light actually shines through this block and is also illuminating the block that's actually supposed to be in the shadow, right? I gotta figure out where I went. There we go. Where's my block? Oh, there it is. Okay, so let me get over here and then F to come down. Alright, so there's my airplane and there's our blocks. But notice how artificial light shines all the way through an object. And see, you can see the light bell right here, and it's illuminating the ground behind this block. That is just the frustration that you're going to get with scenery in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now the sunlight's just fine. Okay, sunlight acts relatively okay. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into Blender, and I'm going to re-export this model without that spotlight. So I'm going to open up Blender, and I'm only going to choose the two blocks. Okay, and I'm going to re-export that. I'm re-exporting, but I'm only doing the two blocks, and everything's set up the way it was, so I'll just hit export, and that export should be done. Minimize my Blender, and notice that the sim did update live, which is good. It used to do this prior to sim update 5, but after sim update 5, sometimes live updates don't work. If your live update does not work after you've made a change, here's another way to take care of that. Okay, so if your live update doesn't work, go into your package sources, your model lib directory, and go into the directory of the model and select the GLTF and open that in your Notepad++. Okay, and then in the XML, simply put your cursor somewhere, make a space, then a backspace, and then click save. Okay, and that will update, that will make a live update in your sim. Okay, just a little trick. Alright, so we saw with our spotlight that we had in Blender, the light was shining all the way through our object. It illuminated the ground behind the block, and it illuminated the second block. Alright, now what happens if you add an artificial light in the sim itself? Okay, let's go to daylight, turn on our day, and turn on our sun. Alright, so our sun is on the left side now. Okay, the sun is on the left side of this screen, and you can see where it casts a shadow on our airplane. It's casting a shadow on both of the blocks, right? Okay, so the sun is working correctly. Alright, let's go back into nighttime. Go to our environmental and move our slider over till we're nighttime or dark. Alright, now we don't have any lights. Now let's go to scenery, click all, and let's do a search for warm light. So we have a warm light, medium, and a warm light. So let's click warm light, and let's do one click here, and let's add a light right here. Okay. And then let's translate that. Let's, oh, I gotta right click and I have to do properties and turn off snap to ground. And then grab our arrow. Alright, so here's our light. This is artificial light that is included in the sim. And just like our spotlight in Blender, it's pointing down by default. Okay, so it is pointing down toward the ground. Alright, now let's move this light over to our centered on our block, and then move it over here. Okay, so notice that the light is pointing down. Okay, it's pointing down, but it's not casting shadows. Okay, you have to understand that in the sim, the light, artificial light, does not cast shadows. Alright, it's illuminating this block. Now it's pointing straight down. Let's rotate that so it is pointing toward our block. So I'm going to grab this axis and turn our light just kind of like it was in Blender. And you'll notice that our light is pointing directly through our blocks. It's not casting any shadows. You have to understand that when you're doing your scenery creation for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Okay, the sim is optimized for sunlight. It's an external game. All right, lighting, artificial lighting is there for accent. It's not to model real world artificial light. You have to understand that when you're making your models, especially if you're doing interiors of models. Okay, like I currently have the project that I'm working on right now, Cleveland Burke Lakefront Airport. I'm completely redoing the entire scenery, using better textures and more accurate representation of what the terminal looks like. But I'm also doing the interior of the terminal because the terminal is made out of glass, a lot of glass. And when you're sitting in your cockpit, you can see inside the terminal. So I'm modeling those things that you would be able to see from inside your cockpit. All right. The problem is during the day, my ceiling lights up just fine because the sunlight is using the ray tracing and it's bouncing off of walls and stuff correctly. However, the artificial light is not. So at night, my ceiling doesn't light up, okay? Because I have ceiling lights and they're lighting the room, but the light's not bouncing off of the walls and the ceiling, the walls and the floors to illuminate the ceiling, okay? So you have to figure out different ways to do that. Even if I use the in-sim lighting, I get the same effect, all right? The only problem is if I use artificial light and point it up to light the ceiling up, then you're not getting a good representation of what the surface of the ceilings look like because you're going to get a lot of light wash, okay? So anyway, just some things that you guys need to understand about lighting. And I'm constantly doing research and trying to figure out different ways to do lighting. And this video could also be a call for discussion from all you other designers, and let's talk about how we use light and how we can make it artificial light better in the sim for our scenery. Okay, so you guys get the idea of I hope you guys get the idea of what I'm trying to tell you today. So anyway, we will get back to our texturing series in a week or so. I just wanted to put this out there so you guys can see what I'm talking about in terms of lighting. Hey, keep on practicing, keep on working on that your hangar or your scenery as we go through this series together, and make comments on the video about what you guys do with light. Okay, and if you're watching this from one of our flight sim groups, hey, let's start a discussion. How do you handle lighting in your scenery? If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to My Physical World. Hit the notification bells for upcoming videos. You guys get the commercial part, right? And if you're inclined to support me, buy me a coffee. Buymeacoffee.com, My Physical World. Hey, you guys are great. We're all in this together, and let's have fun. This is a great hobby, and I will see you guys on the next video. See you later.